Here's up, guys, it's MugenLord here, and today we'll talk about Nintendo. And when it comes to Nintendo, I know a lot of you guys have a love-hate relationship with them, and so do I at times. You know, at times they really deliver for fans, and then they just do some of the most heinous things towards the community in general when it comes to emulation and all kinds of other things when it comes to protecting their IP. But besides that, I want to talk about something here is because there has been some, I guess you would say, some rumblings, or people had found out that Nintendo had filed patents for a potential VR headset. Now, I know a lot of you guys may not be interested in VR, but I'm certainly interested in VR, and I've always said that Nintendo should step into the VR space, especially with the IPs that they have. I think it'll be very lucrative, and I think it'll be an enjoyable experience because they've been known for innovation. So to see where they could take VR, especially since the rumors are stating that this could potentially reveal or have some type of, I guess you would say, some relations with the upcoming rumored Nintendo Switch 2. I can't wait to see where this could possibly go. So let's speculate at this point. So before we dive into the video, make sure to subscribe button, the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we're going to dive right into it, because from Bounty in the comics, it says Nintendo filed patents for VR headsets, sparking speculation Switch 2 could go hands-free. Oh, that's also interesting. So it says the anticipation for the official Nintendo Switch 2 reveal is at an all-time high. And you don't understand, everybody's speculating when the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be announced. Because you gotta understand, Nintendo Switch been around for what? 5, maybe 6 or 7 years now? It's been a while now since, you know, this console has been around, and Nintendo has been very successful with the Nintendo Switch, so it makes sense that Nintendo would try to hold on to the Nintendo Switch as much as possible, especially when the profits are coming in. They're still making money, so it doesn't make sense to actually jump into the next console hardware when you're still killing it with Nintendo Switch. So at this point, you know, it's about that time now. We pretty much in mid-generation of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and we have yet to see what the next iteration moving forward for next generation technology for Nintendo game consoles. So everybody's at the edge of their seats. They waiting for that announcement. So it also says that Valiant Comics Cider broke down some of the rumors that suggest Nintendo might be working on a new virtual reality and augmented reality device rather than or in addition to a direct successor to the Switch. And now, so this is going to be like a separate hardware, separate device. I think that's going to be interesting because you got to remember, Nintendo 3DS was the first time that Nintendo had stepped into the augmented reality, which I thought it was a pretty neat device for what it was. But now they're talking about doing a separate device, and this is where the technology is there. I mean, Apple's doing it. We already got Meta doing augmented reality. So this is where we're going when it comes to future tech. And a lot of companies are starting to step into this. And it's good. And I'm happy to see Nintendo stepping into it. I think that's pretty dope. So then it says that the rumored device is a standalone virtual reality device. Something Nintendo has yet to step into. And I agree with that. While details are limited, speculations are running wild, sparking interest among Nintendo fans, particularly because, as we all know, Nintendo likes to break away from the pack and do their own thing. What could they have in mind for a unique take on VR and AR? And I said this before. I just got finished saying that when it comes to Nintendo always like to innovate. They always like to try something different. So I can only imagine the possibilities that Nintendo can actually pull off stepping into AR and VR. And we're going to get into, you know, my opinions and details about the technology itself after this article. So it says virtual reality and gaming is certainly beginning with Sony and other tech companies having a fair share of the market. It seems now that Nintendo wants a piece of the pie. The Japanese tech giant recently filed a patent for a homegrown VR headset. There are indications that the possible headset will be a mix of virtual reality and augmented reality, no different from the MetaQuest, because it's augmented reality in the MetaQuest as well, while also pushing the limits farther, as the Nintendo patent suggests that the device will be able to maintain certain display elements within your field of view, even as you move your head. Oh, interesting. Okay. Moreover, leaks suggest that implementing advanced tracking technology similar to the HTC Vive, this is a motion capture device that is capable of sensing objects around the device. When this is added to a VR headset, it will certainly enhance the overall experience. one of the most interesting features of this patent is that the headset appears to have its own CPU and GPU. So pretty much, since it has its own CPU and own GPU, it's pretty much like a Meta Quest, where it's its own standalone device, meaning that they will be able to develop separate hardware for this device. So it's like another console. So now you have the Nintendo Switch, and now you have the VR headset. Kind of like how when you had the Nintendo consoles, and then you had the handheld consoles. Now something they're doing a reverse now, where you have the console now, which is a hybrid of both handheld and console, and now they're going to have a VR headset. I think this is going to be crazy. And I would love to see them actually put emphasis and actually drill in home and actually make some great software for this headset. I'm excited for it. So that said, does this mean that it can work on its own without requiring a constant connection to a game console? Like I just said, like Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. Yes, this is going to be like a separate console to itself. Unlike the PS5 headset, you have to connect it to a console and everything like that, or you got to connect it to the PC. No, it's going to be its own thing. That means it's going to have its own applications, its own store, its own games, and plus, especially, it's going to have some type of connectivity to the Nintendo Switch. And the interesting part about it is, I would love to see this, is if whatever games release for the Nintendo Switch, they can also release it for the headset. And I talked about this. I think this will be interesting. So let's go. So it says, that said, it's no surprise that Nintendo is moving towards virtual reality headsets. One of their own creations can be another industry changer. Playing Mario Party, Super Smash Bros., or some other games, players could interact with each other in the game world, fully immersed with a number of family-friendly IPs under their belt. Nintendo could bring a slew of noteworthy titles to your living room and potentially VR headsets. This is what I'm talking about. Now your Mii's itself, you can be your Mii itself and interact in a virtual Nintendo world, or a virtual, can you imagine the headset come with like a demo where you can have like Wii Sports Island, and now you're actually on the island and it's online, you can play with other players, and now you're actually your Mii that you created, and now you can be able to participate in sports, I guess you would say virtual rides and everything like that, and interact with a lot of the Nintendo characters within this island, or within this virtual theme park that Nintendo can create. I think this would be awesome. I think Nintendo may have something here, and I think because of this, because Nintendo's known for this. People make fun of Nintendo with their innovations and the things that they do, but the competition always turns around and mimic them. Come on, when they introduced the Mii's, people made fun of the Mii's, and then Microsoft turned around and made their own avatars for the Xbox 360, and then Sony followed through. Motion controls. People laughed about motion controls, and then what happened? Xbox did the Kinect, and Sony did the Move. So this is the thing that I was looking for when it came to VR. If Nintendo pushes the boundaries to VR, this is going to bring a whole level of competition to the VR space in general. Even when it comes to the Meta Quest itself, and when it comes to Apple and their augmented reality. And then that would definitely make Sony push even harder to improve on the PlayStation VR 2, because that shit is ass. You know what I'm saying? Like they never took advantage of the technology. And the fact is that the PS2 VR right now, at the moment, it's only relegated to the PS5, where all the potential is when you connect it to your PC and gain access to your Steam library. So if Nintendo comes out and do something like this, dude, this would definitely push innovation. Competition is good. This is why we need competition. And I can't wait to see what Nintendo does. But we're going to move forward. See, the Japanese video game giant hasn't confirmed anything on the matter, but all leaks point out that the company is interested in the market. In addition to a VR headset, Nintendo has plenty more in store than the rumored Switch 2. Speaking of which, back in 2017, Nintendo had another interesting patent. That patent includes linked screens, but has yet to see the light of day. Nonetheless, this unique system would allow multiple Nintendo Switch consoles to be connected, create a larger screen for multiplayer games. Moreover, players would be able to extend an additional screen to any side they want by just pointing the finger, thanks to the tracking sensors with the screen. Maybe it's time for the patent to enter production with this Switch, release the Nintendo Switch 2. Furthermore, leaks are suggesting that Nintendo has a touchscreen controller that is yet to enter production. This first patent for such a controller was filed back in 2015 before Nintendo Switch was released. The new controller by Nintendo is an oval shape and has a touchscreen display, haptic feedback, and even voice recognition options. While the technology was far behind when the patent was first filed, the advancements since then is immeasurable. Yes, technology has changed since 2015, and it changed drastically, especially when it comes to AR and VR technology. So the new potential screen controller will be a fantastic addition to the already existing Nintendo Switch or the upcoming Switch 2. Players will be able to map controls to their own liking, while tilting and moving the controller up and down will result in the same game's motion. Furthermore, players will be able to talk with the controller thanks to the audio AI integration, which will be able to remind players of selected control buttons. And also, like I said, we're in the year of AI. AI is another thing that a lot of companies are implementing into their development when it comes to games. And let's be honest, a controller with a few buttons but a touchscreen adds to the notion that gameplay might be more oriented around VR headsets than a controller. Oh man, this is crazy. If any developments come true, Nintendo will once again start a gaming revolution once the patents are out. All these devices, while similar to the competition, are unique in their own design. These will counter Meta, Sony, and Apple, which we talked about, among other tech giants that have already used the surprise factor, but to mediocre results at current. All their devices are struggling with their sales numbers. And we're going to talk about that real quick. I'm going to tell you something. I know a lot of you guys, I talked about this before, there's a lot of potential in VR. I enjoy VR. The thing is, the problem I had with VR when I was talking to you guys on my live stream is that as long as they don't try to make VR the replacement for game consoles or just PC gaming in general, VR will be fine. It will be a fine complement to what we have with traditional gaming. I think the other problem that VR has is that VR is a niche space where it's more so have more independent developers, and there's no mainstream titles or titles that people resonate with and know and familiar with to make people want to go out and drop money down and invest in a VR headset. Like I said before, I got the MetaQuest 3, I got the MetaQuest 2, and I got the first MetaQuest, or what's called the Oculus Rift S at the time. I love this headset. I really do love this headset because there's a lot of potential in it. And I told you guys, don't let the trailers fool you, because I noticed that a lot of you guys said, man, the game looks like a PS2 game. No. When it comes to the VR experience, it's not about how it looks like on a flat screen, because it's on a 2D screen. What matters is once you put it on your eyes and actually sit it in your eyes, you're in a whole completely different world. And what I love about VR is that it's not traditional gaming. The way you interact with the game is like totally different than having a controller in your hand or a mouse and a keyboard. Is that you have to retool your brain and think on a much different level. Even older games, and putting older games in VR, now you have to really do things much differently, because how you react to the game and how you play the game is completely different than having a controller or a mouse and a keyboard, which I think is fun. And it gives you a whole new experience. And when I put the VR headsets on, I see the potential there. In order for VR to actually pick up, and I said this before, the problem is they don't have big developers or AAA titles on VR. Can you imagine Halo on VR? Can you imagine other games like Zenless Zone Zero or Black Myth Wukong or any of the current titles that you would see on consoles? We would need that on VR headsets in order for people to adopt VR. It's not enough people adopting VR. VR is growing, but it could grow potentially faster if we have a lot of these AAA titles on there. Now, Microsoft done something smart. You can get Game Pass on the headset, and you'll be able to play these games on your headset and use that as another monitor. But when it comes to VR with the whole entire 360 space, in that 3D-dimensional space, man, it's one hell of an experience. And I'm telling you guys, this is a person who owns like 3 headsets. it's definitely worth it. Give it a try, man. It's so much potential there. And the fact is that I'm happy, and I mentioned this before, that I always wanted Nintendo to give VR a try because they have the IP to do it, and Nintendo has the creativity and the uniqueness and the innovation to be able to try something different with the VR headset. And I think them stepping into the VR space is going to make every other developer step their game up to give us the best possible experience ever. And like I said, I would love to visit Hyrule in 3D or the Mushroom Kingdom in VR. I would love to play Mario Kart in VR. I have a Mario Kart type game on VR, and it's pretty fun. You actually have to use your hands to steer with the steering wheel, and when you want to throw items, you have to actually hold your hand up while you hold the item and actually throw it at your opponents while you're on the track. There's a lot of potential there, and I think the only way for VR to actually shoot is if Nintendo and if Sony and of course Microsoft, if they be serious about it and play ball and put some of these big titles on there. Silent Hill 2 remake need to be on VR. Every time a new game come out, it should have a VR version of it, or a VR patch later down the line. This is the only way they'd be able to push this VR movement. I think it's a lot of potential there. And I love what Square did. Square just announced Triangle Strategy for the Meta Quest 3. It comes out like at the end of this month, and I will be picking it up. I will be playing it. And the funny part about it is I still have it in the plastic. I bought it on launch on Nintendo Switch and still haven't opened it, but yet I'm going to play it on VR and actually try it. So that is the step in the right direction. If Square Enix continue to drop titles like that, like Diofield Chronicle, how about they drop Star Ocean Divine Force, drop some Final Fantasy titles in VR as well, I think that's the perfect way for people to actually enjoy. And then Fantasian Neo Dimension, put that on VR. Since the whole game is like a diorama in the first place, I think that'll be perfect. I would love to play that. I would love to see some first person and third person experiences in VR. And I think Nintendo can be the ones that actually lead the charge with all this. But that pretty much wraps this video up. I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about whole VR? Have you tried VR before? As I said before, it's actually a really good experience. Don't look at the trailers. It's the type of experience that you have to see with your very own eyes. Similar to the 3DS, when Reggie Fils-Aimé said, hey guys, like, you can't tell the 3D experience by looking at a 3DS game from a trailer. You can't see the 3D. You have to experience the augmented reality and the 3D once you have the 3DS in your hands. Same thing with VR. You have to have the headsets on to actually see what the VR has to offer. Especially Half-Life Alyx is fucking amazing. That's the first game you should try if you get a VR headset. Get a link cable, connect it to your computer like I did. It had access to my Steam library and everything. Half-Life Alyx, one hell of a treat. Well, anyway, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe button for more notifications and everything gaming and also VR. This is MugenLord, signing off. See you Game Fiends later. Peace out.